it's Zena Krogadal on American Dream Makers. Good morning and welcome. I have an amazing American Dream Maker today, and she is phenomenal. Gloria Mayfield Banks. So excited to have her. Now, if you are joining us live, please be sure to allow StreamYard permission, and you can go streamyard.com/Facebook. So that we can see your comments and let us know that you're here. Ask any questions you have. And also please share this out. Gloria has an amazing message and we want to make sure that everyone gets to hear it. So please make sure you share this. So before I bring her on, I am going to play my intro video. So hang on, here we go. Hello. I'm back again. I am Zena Krogadal, your American Dream Makers host. I've got Gloria Mayfield Banks. She is a global success strategist, speaker, author, known for her passion in empowering women to go from ordinary to extraordinary. With expertise in leadership, sales, and life skills, Gloria offers keynote speeches, coaching programs, books to help others achieve success. Despite facing dyslexia and overcoming domestic violence, Gloria's resilience and faith have driven her to break barriers and inspire others. As the #1 earner for Mary Kay and featured in national media outlets, she is recognized as a powerhouse in her field. Gloria's impact reaches far and wide. As she shares the stages with influential figures and continues to motivate through her podcast, Banking on the Banks. Without further ado, here is Gloria. Hi, Gloria.
Hi, how are you, Zena? So good to see you again. This is an honor for me to be with you and yours. I'm excited to be here. Absolutely.
Oh, I am so excited to see you too. And thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you are like all over the place all the time. I don't even know when you sleep, Gloria.
Last week was what a week. Dallas to Atlanta, back to Dallas, then home. I don't know. I was on 3 or 4 or 5 planes in like 3 or 4 or 5 days. It was crazy. But I'm excited to be here with American Dream Makers. I love your goal with this podcast. I really do know that people need to be uplifted and be reminded who they are. So I'm excited to be here with you.
Well, again, thank you so much. And we just want to know about you, Gloria. So tell us all about you, where it all began.
Well, I am from the Midwest, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, had a fabulous upbringing. My parents were just shy of 62 years married when my dad passed. So I grew up in a regular middle class, middle American household in a phenomenal city. And it was awesome. And when I was in the 7th grade, the first of my challenges happened. I always tell people, I don't care who you are. By the time you get to 18, there's been something that's happened to you, something along the way. So for me, one of the things was I was diagnosed as dyslexic, which was a big deal then, as it is today. But they just didn't have the tools. So my mother was a teacher. Both my parents were teachers at one time, but my mom was one of those teachers at that time that would stay with me night after night after night after night, trying to really teach me something like reading that was fundamental. But I always tell people all the time, please, reading is overrated. I don't know who told you that it was important. So it was hard, though. It was very hard. And I kept going, went on through high school, was a cheerleader. You can tell. And I was the captain, you can tell. And we went to state champions and we won. Of course, that was the start of great things. And so went on to college at Howard University in Washington, D.C., very proud member of HBCU at Howard, and then went to Boston after I graduated with my degree in business and worked for Polaroid Corporation. And while I was at Polaroid, I was there for 2 years and I went into a leadership program because honestly, Zena, when I was in school, I wanted to do sales. I knew then I wanted to do sales because one business teacher told me that if I did sales, it would not be subjective. It would be objective. No, it would be, what's the other one? It would not be subjective. Whatever. They can see what you did. whatever. So I decided to do that. Then went to leadership because I wanted sales leadership. Then went to Harvard Business School, applied, did not tell them I was dyslexic. There were some good things and some bad things associated with that. The good thing is I got in. The bad thing is that it was even more of a challenge. When I tell you I worked so hard, honestly, it was the hardest I've ever worked. Hi, Ken Walls. It was the hardest I've ever worked at anything, was to graduate from there. And I almost flunked out of my finance class because the numbers were such a challenge for me. And then another part of my life was going on there. My very first day at Harvard Business School, I started with a black eye. And it was a time in my life when no one knew what was going on. My mother didn't know. My sisters didn't know. It's really the first time I felt like I needed to wear makeup because I wanted to cover up that black eye. And it was my very first day. It was a very, very tumultuous time in my life. But I was in domestic violence for 10 years, Zena. And I always tell people that I'm a very smart, successful, powerful woman who was in domestic violence for 10 years and went on to have 2 children, then ended up being in a divorce and was a single parent for 7 years. But, just a lot going on in that time. Went back and worked for Harvard Business School after I sold for IBM. I became a very top salesperson for IBM. Absolutely loved it. I can tell you a lot of stories about that. Then I went corporate. Thought I was going to break the glass ceiling, girl. I knew I was going to break the glass ceiling, like for real, until I found out that it was brick. It wasn't glass. I don't know who labeled that thing glass because it was brick and I was not going through it. So I went back to work for Harvard Business School in admissions. Loved admissions work, like really loved admissions work. Loved working with ambitious young adults who wanted to further their careers. Didn't know what they were going to be doing, how they were going to do it, following a path they were unfamiliar with. I was there to help guide them, loved it. And then went down to my girlfriend's house to a skincare class. And lo and behold, I was at a time when I knew my divorce was coming. And so I wanted to make some extra money. And I was really making very good money. By anybody's standard, I was a very well-paid executive woman. But I still wanted more. And more is one of my favorite words, Zena. More is one of my favorite words because I really do believe ambitious people want more so that they can give more. And I started with a very small dream. Love the name, American Dream Makers. A very small dream of an extra $200 a week. And 35 years later, still an extra $200 a week makes a major difference in a lot of people's lives. And that's where I started. And 5 months after I signed my agreement, I earned the use of my first car. 12 months after that, I had broken my first record. And I went on to break many, many records at Mary Kay and ended up number 1 for 6 years out of 3.5 million women. So it's been exciting. And now I'm on to my next. I'm excited to be here with you.
Oh my goodness.
I should know that. I have 2 kids of my own. Ken has 2 kids. I remarried after 7 years. We just celebrated 26 years of marriage. He's a very, very, very powerful entrepreneur in his own right. And that's why we have a podcast called Banking on the Banks. But we've got 4 grown adults, 5 grandchildren, cannot leave them out. Love them, love them, love them.
Oh, what an amazing story of overcoming obstacles, adversity, and just keep going. And my gosh, Gloria, you were obviously born to just make such a shout in the world. Like you said, it was obvious you were a cheerleader, you were a fighter, you were a survivor, you were all that. And the fact that you need, I guess that you just, went through so much. You had dyslexia, so you had challenges from the very beginning. And that's tough because there's a lot of people, I'm sure, that really struggle with dyslexia or some sort of learning disorder, right? And so there's just a slew of things that you have to do that. And I think we know more about it today than we did even when you were in school. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's very much true. I have to stop myself, Zena. I want to tell everybody that's listening. I know I talk fast. I do. But I also want to tell the women that are listening that sometimes we tend to talk quickly because we think we're taking up the oxygen from other people. So I need to slow down. I also often teach other women to slow down and step into your power, step into your confidence, unfold your story, because your story is something that can impact someone else. I do want to tell you that there's been a lot of growth in the struggle with dyslexia. I was on the board of the Dyslexia Association at one time, and it's proven that dyslexic people are very smart. Been tons of stories on it, but it doesn't come across that way because you really do have a hard time reading. You really might have a hard time with numbers. There's different levels of dyslexia. I didn't find out until I was in my 40s that a teacher who specialized in teaching dyslexic students how to read, she said, Gloria, you hear differently. That's why you can't spell. It's because you don't hear the same way phonetically like other people hear. So, Zena, every single word I know how to spell is because I've memorized it. So I can't sit there, like I'm looking at the word believe right now. I can't sit there like other people and say, believe, and spell it out. You don't even understand the background that's behind me for my spelling to be right. I mean, my assistant checks everything. My social media. If I post anything on social media, they are so fast to run to my social media. Like, Gloria posted something. Let me just check and make sure it's spelled correctly, because it's 9 times out of 10 going to be off in some way, form, or fashion. But yes, there's been a lot of training. There's been a lot of expertise. I remember going to a school once, and they asked me to speak to these students at this very special school that was designed here in Maryland to support children that are dyslexic. And I walked into the room, and they had a lunchroom full of children. And when I started telling them my story, and I started explaining to them that I could identify with never wanting to go to school on the day that there was a test because you knew you could not read and finish the test, even when you knew the answer in the times allotted. I remember figuring out ways, any kind of way to get out of school. And my mother being a teacher, I had to be extremely creative. I would rub my forehead and say, Mom, I got a fever. I got a fever. I mean, it was just like crazy. And so they started crying. They started really crying. And then it reminded me how impactful our stories can be to so many others, especially when you're not in the midst of the challenge, when you're actually through the challenge. And they saw that their future can be very bright, even when it's dark in the moment.
Wow. That's just amazing, phenomenal. The obstacles you had to overcome to get your brain to understand that. And, Ken says you got to get your energy up, Gloria. You're just...
I'm going to go take a vitamin. I'm going to go take a vitamin G, baby. I'm going to take a vitamin G.
Oh, goodness gracious, huh? Ken, thank you so much for being on here. He is my mentor, and he's a wonderful guy. You guys need to get to know Ken if you don't know him already. And thank you so much, everybody else who's on here. Gloria, gosh, and then going through college. I mean, and not just any college, Harvard.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
I mean, like you said, you were breaking the glass ceiling, but it wasn't a glass ceiling. It was a brick wall, but yet you broke it anyway.
Yeah. Zena, I had one of my most humbling moments. You get humbled in your biggest challenges, but oftentimes if you look for the gift, it's sitting there. I think many of us miss the gifts that come with the challenges. But I remember he was a nice guy. And I remember, hard though. He was hard. Like those professors at Harvard, they're no joke. They don't give you not an inch. And so I went to his office, asked for some office hours. And that's when I had to unfold to him that I was dyslexic. And I was very nervous because I didn't want them to title me as someone who was not going to be able to make it through the course. But he sat there and he was like, I'm so glad you told me what was going on. And he sat there and he explained it to me. He took his time to explain to me. He took his time to help me understand what I would need to do to understand things. He needed proof that I understood it, even if I couldn't explain it or articulate it in the system that they had already prepared for all the other students that were there. But for me, it was a very humbling moment, and I've taught this many times, people hate to ask for help, but people love to give help. And that's what I found in that moment. He really wanted to help me. I mean, if we really think, I tell people all the time, when we choose to listen to TV and the tabloids and the newspaper and blah, 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 like many positive people know that that's not necessarily the way to live your life, but it's sensationalized about things that are bad and people that are bad. But the majority of people in this world are really good. The majority of the people in this world are really kind. The majority of these people in the world are really wonderful. We just have to raise our hand and ask for help and not get deterred or discouraged when someone can't help you in that moment. Like you said, I'm busy, you're busy. Most of us are busy doing our lives, but we also have to realize that there's more than one person who can help you. And so if you're stuck in an area or you're challenged, like I was in an area, you've got to be willing to let people know your truth, step into it, and know that although you might be very challenged over there, like I was very challenged over there, but also very gifted in another area of my life. And my gifts are my gifts, mine, and your gifts are your gifts, period.
Absolutely. Oh, yes, absolutely. Hey, I've got a surprise guest in here. Oh my God.
I had to.
Oh my goodness.
I said, you got to bring me on. Send me the link. I got to say hi to my girl. How
Ken,
are
you
you?
are so funny. When I tell you, you are funny. This man, no wonder he's your mentor, Zena, seriously, because he is literally all over the place, supporting all over, just with such kindness and energy and joy. I love listening to your story. I love listening to your girls grow up. I mean, seriously. And then when we were together last, he was telling his daughter just became a cheerleader. I was like, what? Put me on there. That was so
and you were just in Dallas. I was that close to being down there, and I couldn't make it. But I'm like, anyway, I wanted to hop on. I need to say this. First off, I love you. I adore you. I think you're amazing. And I think everybody watching this right now, we have Gloria Mayfield Banks on here. Share this out. I shared it. I'm getting ready to go share it to my fan page and everywhere. But Gloria, you are one of my favorite people on planet Earth. Tim's story talked about how Gloria is going to be the next Oprah. 1000% agree with that. Like, go share this out so everybody can get their dose of Gloria Mayfield Banks. I'm not staying. I just wanted to interrupt and say hi and tell you I love you. So good job, you guys. I'll see you later on. Okay.
You're right.
Bye,
The
Ken.
family.
Thank you so much for stopping
Bye.
by.
Bye.
Oh, he thinks
that was
I
a
gotta
nice
have
try.
energy. He's Mr. Energy for sure. For sure.
Oh,
for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't know when he sleeps either. So
yeah.
Well, that was a lot of fun. I'm so glad Ken's popped in and said hello. He truly is a fantastic guy. And I'm just so excited that he is mentoring me in all those things. And I'm so glad that you're part of my circle now too. So glad to have met you as well, because you are just infectious. Like your energy, truly. I don't know what it's like to wake up next to you, but I imagine your husband every day. It's like, woo, I'm awake.
I know, he's so funny. He's like, Gloria, calm down. I said, I can't go to sleep. He says, just close your eyes. Just try it, Gloria. Just close your eyes. It's a session. It's a session.
Yes, I'm sure it is. And I'm sure it's a fabulous session. It's probably even better than morning coffee. Woo! Let's get going, guys. So I just want to kind of bring it back a little bit too. You know, you talked about that you were a domestic violence survivor. Yes. I don't want to say victim because you're not a victim. You have survived it. You've overcome it, and then you were able to achieve things that even just the average woman doesn't achieve. Not necessarily having that in her background, but then you also ended up being able to marry an amazing man and having a very healthy, happy marriage. So for those of the ladies that maybe perhaps in a relationship that is not healthy, For those that maybe are scared, thinking, what's that next step? Can you give us some words of encouragement, something?
Yes, yes. I love that, Zena, because we often don't get to talk about that as often as we need to talk about it. And so first thing I want to tell people is I always want to re-invite them to follow us on YouTube at Banking on the Banks, which is our podcast, because a lot of people asked us about second marriages. They asked us about blending a family. We've blended the grandchildren. We have two entrepreneurs who were small entrepreneurial businesses when we met each other, and then we grew them into very large entrepreneurial businesses. We love to travel a lot. Both of us love to travel. I love to laugh. And there's a lot of similarities and there's a lot of differences. For instance, my husband ran a very large construction company here in the Baltimore area. And he just finished with chairman of the board for the Federal Reserve in the Baltimore, Richmond area. Now, you give him a book that's like this big, like thick, he can read every word of that contract. You show me that book, I start crying immediately. I really cannot read that book. I mean, and then you bring him a whole lot of people, he's like, and he calls me the Pied Piper because, I love people. So it's hilarious. But I will tell you, there are some things that have made our relationship spectacular because honestly, Zena, I have to tell you this story. When I met him, we were in Florida. He was there with his kids. I was there with my kids. We were at a theme park called Wet and Wild. And I always tell people it was wet and it was wild. It was. But he told me, like, seriously, in the first 15 minutes, he said, I just want to be clear with you. I'm never getting married again. It's okay. That's cool. I invite you not to continue your conversation with me because you will fall in love with me and I'm getting married in 5 years. And that's exactly what we said to each other. So therefore we got married in 6 years because he said we were not going to get married in 5 years because I said 5 years. But I think, honestly, number one, we didn't need a mate to make us happy. I was happy when he found me. He was happy when I found him. So we weren't looking for someone else to make us happy. It wasn't a question whether we knew a soulmate would be joyful, would be something we would love, but it wasn't a requirement for our joy, if you can hear me. I think the other thing that was really good and very positive for us was the freedom. I need a man that allows me my freedom to be my best self. And he doesn't need a woman who's going to shape him or change him or pull him or require things of him that he didn't normally want to give himself. I always say to people, it takes a strong man to lift a powerful woman. And so we operate under that role. Like, I think of my kin as one of my best role models, period. The way he conducts himself, his spiritual faith is so deeply grounded. There's so much I love about him, so much that's calming about him, as energetic as I am, as calming as he is. It's a match, but we worked very hard at our relationship. And I like the fact that I tell people we worked hard at it, because when you see a great relationship, a lot of people think, oh, wow. And that's what I meant when I said earlier, I have my gifts and everybody has their gifts. You cannot get stuck in the playground called comparison, because you will definitely lose. I heard this the other day from Nikki Cullen. She said, comparison steals your peace. And it really does. So for me, it has been a joy for us to bring up these kids. They weren't even teenagers when we met. They were like little kids. And I remember once we went to an IHOP and we were sitting around the breakfast table and he walked in and he saw me and those 4 kids around that table. Girl, he saw his future. He was like, oh, Lord. Here's my future, from 2 to 4 kids automatically. But we embraced it. We fell in love with it. I got to be my best. He got to be his best. And we sort of supported each other in that. And we found common ground with things that we love to do together. And then those things that we don't love to do together, we let the other person do it how best they want.
Wow. That's lovely. And I really am glad that you really emphasized how important it was that you were basically whole before you met each other. So
Mm,
for those, and so you obviously came out of just a terrible relationship, and you
yeah,
obviously learned and grew. Just like you're just a star student. You are a honor student to the plus on so many levels. And so you studied life and relationship, and you learned something that brought you to the next place in life. And because
yeah,
I don't know about you, but for so many years, I would observe women, they would marry repeatedly, and it'd be the same man, but different name.
right, right.
And so how did you get yourself from that point of being so brought down, because in abusive relationship,
Yes,
you're cut down to the core. How did you
right.
bring yourself out of that?
That's a great question, because I could have a banner running across the top of my head in lights going like, therapy is great. Therapy is great. Therapy is great. I'm one of those people that I tell people all the time. For me, I see therapists as people who have invested as much time, energy, and passion as a medical doctor. And they have spent an enormous amount of time learning how to help people navigate life, where we will run to a medical doctor if we sniff, if we have a temperature, if something doesn't feel right. But if our heart's not feeling right, if our energy's not feeling right, if we're confused, it takes us forever to go to a therapist who can help you get back on the right path. So I believed in therapy, and I do believe, number one, that my parents did give me, and not everybody gets this, I'm clear about it. I've helped so many women who did not have a strong family unit coming out of it. So I know it's a blessing that I had it. So that was one piece. I always had that home in front of me, that viewpoint of what a good marriage would look like from my parents. But the second thing was that also caused me an astonishment. When I got into a domestic violence situation, that's the last thing I thought would happen to me. I wasn't familiar with domestic violence. I wasn't familiar with divorce. I wasn't familiar with any of that. So I immediately got into therapy. Now, I want to tell you something. Again, whatever's your gift can be your challenge. What people see in me is a very optimistic attitude, right? And that optimistic attitude gave me a fortitude, like this marriage is going to work. So we got married on August the 4th. And my birthday is September the 8th. And what I remember was I was at a marriage counselor before September the 8th. So within 30 days, I was at a marriage counselor. And that counselor therapist told me this marriage will never work. I was like, what you talking about, Willis? This marriage is definitely going to work. So I set it upon myself that this marriage was going to work. I stayed in there too long. It was a very, very long time I was there. And it was not a good choice of mine to stay there for 10 years. However, when I finished and I went back to yet another therapist, and I said to her, I need to ask you, why am I not crying? I'm in the midst of a divorce. I'm becoming a single parent. This is a challenging time. Everyone in the world is telling me about how I'm going to go backwards and it's going to be horrible and blah, 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 blah. What is the deal? And she said, you cried throughout your marriage. That's why you're not crying now. I said, you are right, sister. And I got up from that chair and I was good to go. And it was all good after that. And there's been times in my life when I've gone back to therapy and I've checked on it. But I want to talk about that because, a lot of people wonder. And, I tell myself I'm the non-celebrity celebrity. I want to be the non-celebrity celebrity, meaning I want to have an impact on women just by the truth of what I say, just by the truth of my story. My story may not impact you at all, may have nothing to do with it. My wisdom may not hit you at all. But if it does, and it does make a difference for you or for someone that you know, I'm here to tell you that if you're in struggle and right now, coming out of the pandemic that we just came out to, the things that are going on in the world right now, therapists are busy and they should be. So that's what I would tell you. I did get the tools and I did use it. And can I say this to you, please? Thank you for calling me an honor student. Dyslexic people never get called honor students. That's pretty cool.
I recognize an honor student. Well, Gloria, English is my second language, and I know it's hard for a lot of people to believe, but I actually didn't learn English until I started school. And so I can understand. Now, I didn't have dyslexia, but I didn't have the reading comprehension, and it was a real struggle.
Right.
So I do understand how hard you have to work to overcome. Probably not to your extent, but it is. It's like you just have to do extra.
Yeah. Extra. A
lot
of
of
extra. You got to do a lot of extra to become extraordinary. Absolutely.
Yes. And you just embellish so much inspiration, and you're just a great influence. And so you came into Mary Kay because you wanted to cover up the bruises that you had on your face. Is that correct?
Well, to cover up the bruises, I used some makeup. I don't even know what it was, but that was the first time I used makeup for that reason. I really started my Mary Kay business to make some extra money. I went to a very simple, regular skincare class with my girlfriend who lived 2 doors down from me. And I saw this beauty consultant do something I had never done before. She put on her presentation. We tried the product. We fell in love with it. We gave her money. Everybody gave her money. These are all my girlfriends who I knew didn't have any money. So I was like, what are you talking about? So in that moment, Zena, I decided I'm going to build a Mary Kay business. And I told my kids, who at the time were 1 and 2, I said, Mommy's going to sell Mary Kay. And they were like, they didn't have anything to say. I went home and told my mom. And of course, she was like, what? We just paid $60,000 for you to go to Harvard Business School. And now you're going to sell lipstick. I was like, well, I was, until she said that, because that's how people are, right? They love you. They give you their opinion unsolicited, as much as it is. And I listened. So I didn't do anything until my girlfriend called me up. She was so excited. She said, come to a meeting with me, come. So I went, I saw for myself. I joined for myself. I didn't tell anybody anything. I did it for myself. And I fell in love with it. And what happened for me, Zena, is that I was now walking into a world where they didn't know my background. They didn't know I went to Harvard Business School. They didn't know I was becoming a single parent. They didn't even know I was a parent. They didn't know anything about my background. They didn't know they couldn't judge me. I had a clean slate to start all over again. Every single person I met didn't know anything about me except what I told them. And it was a beautiful place for me to be. I didn't even know at that time that I needed friends. And I could tell anybody one of the most positive and powerful things about network marketing and the profession of it is the personal development. And I don't think people understand why we have so many successful people in this industry. It is because they spend a lot of time on getting their best self to surface up. A lot of people have their best self and it gets buried, just like you said, buried by the talk, buried by the discouragement, buried by the way other people treat you, buried by people's thoughts about you, buried. And so your best self gets buried until you're in an environment where people are pulling the best out of you, either from excitement, from goals, from targets, from role model, from, doing something that's passionate. It starts to bubble up the best of you. And that's what happened for me. It started bubbling up the best for me. And I started being very, very powerful at doing things I'd never done before. And I tell people all the time, we all do things we had never done before. People, I've never done it before. I'm like, I know that. You didn't walk before you walked. You didn't talk before you talked. So this life is created full of everything you've never done before. And so that's what started for me, and it never stopped. I am passionately and powerfully teaching women how to build their own confidence and how to build confidence in other people.
Oh, just love it. I love that you talked about how important therapy is, that to get the help. And I love that you talked about how connecting with other people is such a success factor in growing you. And I'm sure even just when you were doing Mary Kay, that was therapy too, just running across other people. I know it was for me when I was
Yeah.
working on patients as a dental hygienist.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
It's amazing when you help other people, how much you learn yourself, right? When you're helping other people, you learn so much about yourself, and it takes courage. It takes courage to help other people. It takes courage to build your confidence. But confidence is one of the number one things that people are looking for to build upon themselves. So I tell people, my purpose is to build your intangibles so that you can get the tangible, because it's impossible to grow without those intangibles.
Beautiful. Beautifully. You're so articulate. Seriously, just so articulate. So, and honestly, I think if you didn't tell people you were dyslexic, I don't know that anybody, would even, because you do so well with it. So I just applaud you for all of that.
Thank
Just
you.
yeah. So you took yourself to number 1 out of 3.5 million. Holy smokes. Oh my gosh. And you did it in a short amount of time. Yeah. Because you said 5 months in, you had earned your first car.
Yeah, I earned my first car. Mm-hmm.
And then after the first year, you earned what was it
We
after
started
that
breaking
first?
records. So the first year I earned the use of my first car. The second year I earned the use of my first pink Cadillac. The third year I became a $500,000 director. And then, I started earning trips. And for me, I quickly found out what made me tick. And this is what I teach a lot of people, because if you don't take a second to figure out what makes you tick, you think what makes everybody else tick makes you tick, and you stay in a place of confusion. So for me, what makes me really tick is breaking records. I love to break records. I love to go places that no one has gone before. And for me, I knew in order to do that, I had to help other people go places that they'd never gone before, because you can't take a team to a place they've never gone before unless a lot of people fall in love with that same mission to do something that's never been done before. So therefore, we broke records. We broke the qualifying directorship record. We broke the largest team ever in Mary Kay. We broke the most new members in a month with Mary Kay. We broke the highest unit production in Mary Kay. We broke the highest level of a national area. We broke the most pink Cadillacs ever in a national area. We broke the most income created in 1 month by a person. We broke the largest income ever created. And we broke a lot of records on that journey, because that's what works for me. So whatever works for you, you have to figure out what it is. And then I would take what works for them. I would be very loud about what works for me, and we would find out how to make them align. Because I always told people that this is where I'm going to win. You get to choose if you want to play in my playground. You don't have to play in that playground. I get it. I love everybody has choices. However, if you do choose to play in my playground, I know for a fact you will grow. That's what I know for sure. And so that's how we would navigate and move and pivot and swim. Because in order to grow, in order to have a quantum growth, which is what my book is titled, Quantum Leap, in order to have a quantum leap, which is called by quantum growth, in order to do that, you have to be able to pivot and move quickly and be decisive. All the things I talk about in the book.
Wow. Oh, just amazing. How many years were you with Mary Kay? Tell us again. How many years?
Yeah, I was with them 1 month short of 34 years, 33 years and 11 months.
That's a really long time to be with a company. And then you sold your business.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
This is such a beautiful gift. I was able to give my business, or at least a portion of my business, to my daughters. And so I have 2 daughters and a daughter-in-law. So one daughter and one daughter-in-law, and my other daughter is an amazing entrepreneur. She runs a company called Sit, Stay, Obey in Atlanta, Georgia. She trains dogs. And when I tell you she's a dog whisperer, my other two daughters are driving in their earned pink Cadillacs. And so that's very exciting. So the legacy has passed on either through my entrepreneurial business with Mary Kay Cosmetics or just the thought of another woman entrepreneur in my daughter, Rakenya, out of Atlanta. So Julianne is driving a Cadillac, Erica's driving a Cadillac, and Rakenya is putting dogs in Cadillacs, I guess, because she's amazing.
Just phenomenal.
2 sons, I have to tell you, 2 sons. One is a genius with Microsoft. He's a huge executive at Microsoft, and we're just extremely proud of him in New York. And my other son is a partner in a law firm, a very successful partner in a law firm. So we're proud parents. We're very, very proud parents, and they're well on their way. And can I say this? It wasn't always this sweet. There were challenges in raising children, and it is the best job in the world because it is the most important, but it's also the most challenging. So that's a whole nother conversation, but it was well worth every second of it.
I'm glad that you said that. And, you know, when you say, can I say this? I think you just don't even need to say that. Just say it. Just say it, Gloria. you had me.
Oh, thank you.
But I'm so glad that you say that because, you know, when people meet you now, you seem so strong and courageous and brave, and it's hard not to think that you just had it all together just like that.
Right.
That it,
Right.
you know, it's same thing with your family, that your kids, they must have been just a perfect family. But I love that you are just so honest and so transparent to say it takes work. You guys have to work at it. I love that.
Yeah. I put something up today on my Instagram, and I hope all my new girlfriends and my new friends follow me at Gloria Banks. But I put something up and I said, you know, the results that you see are very pretty, but that doesn't mean that they didn't do the ugly work. It's the ugly work that people don't see that caused the very beautiful results. The calling someone back again, the hearing the no's, the pushing through the pain, the working when you're not feeling it, the getting on 85,000 airplane rides in 2 weeks, the getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to catch a 6 o'clock flight, the, you know, going through the airport in the parking lot looking for your car because yesterday you parked it on the 4th floor and why is it on the 6th floor today? You know, it's just so many things that happen in the ugly work. And I don't mean ugly by it being bad, because I don't want people to label the hustle as either hard or ugly. I just want them to know that the beautiful results that they see on Instagram and Facebook, and the beautiful results they see in the awards and in the paychecks, and the beautiful rewards they see in the travel and the flexibility and the finances and the fitness only came from the ugly work.
Wow. Deep, real deep. But very crucial, very crucial. And so you are not doing Mary Kay. You passed on the legacy. What are you doing now?
I graduated.
Graduated. Okay.
My new term is
honor. High honors.
Yes, with honor. Yes, high honor, summa cum laude, right? But right now, really, Zena, I'm very passionate. I hope they can see it. I hope they can hear it. I'm very passionate about teaching women both in person. I love keynote speaking. I do a lot of keynote speaking. I'm very passionate and excited that I get to do that I get to change people's lives through the power of the mic, understanding how to teach, train, tell stories, use humor, and seize it all up. You know, to be an author of a book when someone was literally, Zena, chasing me down for 4 years to write this book, I was like, no, I'm not writing a book. I'm dyslexic. I'm not writing a book. And he said, well, I'm dyslexic. I was like, you own a book company and you're dyslexic. So, my book Quantum Leap is available to people on Amazon. But what I really do is I mentor a lot of women. And so if they go to gloriamayfieldbanks.com, they can see the different ways in which I can honor them. But I am so excited, Zena, that my collection and my community of amazing women is called Super Bad All Day Long. They are super bad all day long. And it really stands for unapologetically powerful women, unapologetically powerful people who really want to go to a level that they had not gone to before. And God gave me that. He specifically gave me your purpose is to take people from ordinary to extraordinary. And you can say extraordinary or you can say extraordinary. But I say extraordinary because I'm clearly extra.
Love, love, love it. Oh my gosh. Yes. Super bad all day long. That is you, Gloria. And wherever you go, I want to follow. So, because you are breaking brick walls, you are breaking, oh my gosh, everything that is just people see as impossible. That I don't think that word exists in your vocabulary. So I won't ask you to spell it. That's okay. Because I don't think
exactly.
It's just so beautiful that just like I said, just all the things that you have done and accomplished, and you are amazing, phenomenal. You have such a glow. Obviously, Mary Kay works because you look so young. I've seen some of your older pictures of when you were youthful, and you look the same. I'm sure that your girls probably is that your sister? I'm sure people don't even ask if you're their mother.
My daughter hates it. When I tell you she hates it, she hates it. I'm like, yeah, bring it on, girl. Bring it on. Bring it on.
I understand. My daughter would get that a lot too. And so she hated too. This is my mother, not my sister. But exactly. I'm like, your friend can come over anytime. So you also have a podcast with your husband, Banking on the Bank.
Yes.
So that, you guys, you should take a listen. I've listened to some of that. You guys are really funny on there. You guys are super real. It's a great podcast, and just to kind of follow your life and all the things that you've done, that's just awesome. And yes, Gloria is beautiful on the outside and even more on the inside. I agree. The beauty that she has is, definitely incorruptible beauty, and it never ends. And so, Gloria, yes, absolutely. I agree. Get a hold of GloriaMayfieldBanks.com is where you go, or look her up on Instagram at Gloria Banks. And then the podcast, Banking on the Banks. You have any last words? I know we got to wrap this up because I know you got a super tight schedule for a super bad all day long. That's why you've got a tight schedule. When you name a something like that, how can you go stop? I mean,
yeah. It's really crazy. I just want to tell people right now we're mid-year. Like, I love sports. I will be on my TV tonight for the NBA Finals. I love Super Bowl. I actually get depressed when the Super Bowl is on because that means football season is over. I love sports. But I also want people to know this is mid-season. Like, half of the year of 2023 is done, but the other half is still very much in front of us. Please do not get your mind all caught up with what has happened in the past. And I want you to know that the majority of the people who don't meet their goals is because they're so set in their thoughts about what happened in the past that they can't keep their mind on what's going on in the present, and they cannot get excited what's coming in the future. We still have a whole nother half of 2023 in front of us. So this plenty of time to make this your best year ever. And I always talk about these 4 pillars. I talk about faith. I talk about family. I talk about fitness, and I talk about finances. So this is the place where you can do a check on yourself. Say, this is what it looks like today. But by December 31st, before I go into my deal and my dreams about 2024, let's complete what we said we wanted to do in 2023. We're only at the halfway mark. So much more is in front of you. That's what I wanted to add.
Oh, love it. Thank you so much again, Gloria, for taking the time and being
Absolutely.
here on American Dream Makers. You truly are an American dream maker. So you just keep going. Just keep making those dreams come true. Oh my goodness, you guys, you got to follow Gloria. If you have not been following her, you just need to. You just need to. I just want
Thank
to
you,
say,
Zena. I have absolutely loved this. I absolutely love this. And, you know, when I met you, you were a powerful, bright, shining light in the room. And so I love the fact that you're energetic. I love the fact that you're a visionary. And I love the fact that you're bringing things together like this to support other people and empower them in different ways. American Dream Makers, I absolutely love it. And I thank you for even asking me and honoring me with a position on your show.
oh, my goodness. I just don't even know. I'm speechless now, Gloria. So we definitely need to end. I have no more to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You guys take care.
You too. All right. We will chat later, Miss Gloria. Thank you guys so much for being here today. What a wonderful woman, isn't she? She's just phenomenal. So absolutely, if you're watching this on the replay, please share this out. Her message is amazing, and there's a lot of people who need to hear it. So I want to say goodbye for now. Thanks for joining in on American Dream Makers. If you have not joined American Dream Makers, please join the group. I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as Zena Krogadal. I'd love to chat with you and connect with you. Have a wonderful, blessed day, and we will see you next time.